Welcome back to Super Recaps. Today I will recap a horror thriller from 2009 called 9 Dead. Watch out for spoilers. The movie starts with a man in Los Angeles planning for multiple kidnappings by building a prison, and arming himself with the required weapons and tools. He then leaves after putting on a mask. Sully Fenton, the abductor's first victim, is a cruel man and the boss of a strip club, and a loan shark who loans people money for profits. Sully shouts at one of his strippers for simply sitting while at work and exits the premises. Soon after, he is restrained by the abductor and kidnapped. The following evening, a police detective called Dean Jackson is heading out of a building with a co-worker when he is kidnapped in the same manner, while his co-worker gets sprayed in the eyes with a chemical. Following that, a man named Coogan becomes suspicious after seeing the news, and he knows the kidnapper is after him, so he tries to attack him with a knife but is outwitted. After that, Christian Collins, a Hollywood star, is also kidnapped while hanging out with his friends. Then a priest, Father Francis, a thug named Leon, Noong Chan, a Chinese store owner, Eddie Vigoda, a health insurance agency clerk, and Kelly Murphy, an assistant district attorney, are all kidnapped. They are all imprisoned in a cell, shackled to separate poles, their heads covered by bags, and their mouths taped. The kidnapper then enters the prison to untie the prisoners and begins to explain himself. He claims that he has kidnapped them for a specific reason, and they must discover this reason if they want to live. If they can't figure out their reason for being here after 10 minutes, he warns, he will kill one person. He then swears to release the survivors after they solve the puzzle and even turns himself into the authorities, after which he begins the timer and exits the room. At first, the captives are astonished and unsure of what to do. Leon believes the kidnapper is a cop trying to get information, and Coogan agrees, recounting a similar experience in the past, but Jackson is certain that's not true. And then Eddie also says something sensible. He says that someone probably did something horrible, making the man desire vengeance for example, someone must have done an unacceptable act to a minor. So he asks whether they recall doing anything like that. Coogan reveals he has done it to a minor but refuses to tell them whether it was a boy or a girl since the gender isn't important to him. After that, Eddie introduces himself and intends to begin writing these things down. Picking up chalk, he starts writing on the walls. He then questions Kelly if she has ever done anything bad, but she claims that she never unfairly convicted somebody to the point where they would return for vengeance. Christian suddenly recognizes Sully and claims that Sully lent him money by providing him drugs, which he unintentionally sold to undercover officers, leading to his 3-year prison sentence. When Sully questions if he paid back his debt, Christian says he understands what transpires to anybody who doesn't pay Sully back, and even if he was broke before and after his jail time, he claims that he cleared his debt to Sully as soon as he got out. When Jackson learns that Sully isn't from Los Angeles, he wonders whether others aren't from Los Angeles too. Coogan claims to have spent time in multiple prisons across the country. Father Francis states he has a Catholic church in San Francisco Valley, and Eddie adds that he is from Barstow. Leon refuses to talk, claiming that he isn't concerned about what the kidnapper wants. Then they realize that the Chinese woman appears to not even understand English. Time passes by, and only 2 minutes remain now, and they are all curious as to what will happen when the timer runs out. The countdown finally ends, and the kidnapper enters the room and asks them if they have solved the riddle. And when it's obvious they haven't, he shoots Christian and drags him away, threatening to return in 10 minutes. However, before he leaves, he informs them that they will also need to figure out why Christian was put in the cell. Only 8 of them remain now. Coogan ultimately admits that he served 5 years in prison. Jackson questions him about why he went to prison, but Coogan does not respond. Kelly eventually pushes Leon to speak, so he accepts and admits that he and his brother were robbers, but he says he never killed or sexually molested anyone. Jackson then inquires whether Kelly ever prosecuted Leon, but apparently, Leon was never apprehended. Father Francis, being a priest, can't take any more of their confessions, but Eddie doesn't think he's innocent either because he's here with them too. Later, Eddie is also ordered to make some confessions by the others. He then admits to having fabricated paperwork in order to obtain medical treatment for his brother-in-law, who had colon cancer. Then, Kelly admits that she had an affair with Jackson once, and this may be revenge from Jackson's ex-wife. But others don't agree with her as it doesn't have any connections to the rest of them. Then Leon has an idea that can help free him from the handcuffs. He asks the person beside him, Sully, to break his hand so he can pull it out of the handcuffs, and Sully complies. Leon then carefully slips his hand from the handcuff and runs away, disregarding the others who ask him for help. The kidnapper had been keeping an eye on them the whole time, so he rushes after Leon, and they fight. Leon manages to take his gun from him and threatens him with it, but the kidnapper informs Leon that he has been planning this operation for 2 years and cannot stand to lose. It turns out that Leon's gun has no bullets because he only loads the gun with 1 bullet before entering their cell. Leon immediately runs away, but the man shoots him with another pistol and brings him back into the room, and shackles him to the pole. The man comes back 10 minutes later and asks them for the riddle again. Upon not getting any answers, he goes to kill Coogan, but Coogan says he does not want his blood to splatter on anyone and tries to strangle the man to save himself, but the kidnapper quickly kills him and drags his body out. Before leaving he mentions he'll target Leon next. The timer starts once more, and this time, everyone is terrified. They need to figure out why Leon is next. Suddenly, Mrs. Chan remembers Kelly as her lawyer when a man named Wade Greeley robbed her. Because of this, Eddie is able to come up with a timeline for them to follow in order to figure out how they are connected. Leon, who had no intention of speaking, suddenly admits that he lied about not ever committing murder because he did kill his brother for deceiving him and then sold all their guns. He also informs the others how the kidnapper said he had spent 2 years planning this. Therefore, they all try to remember what mistakes they made 2 years ago, but the time ends, and the man comes and kills Leon. Just as the time restarts, Father Francis reveals he already knows why he and someone else are there but can't divulge it because it was told to him in his confessional. Given that Father Francis' mind is set up, Eddie continues his investigation and discovers that the attacker may not be considering direct participation in this situation. He may be seeking vengeance on people who might only be slightly connected. So he wants each of them to tell the truth about everything they've ever done. Sully claims he once killed a man for hitting him. Jackson also admits to attacking a speeding driver, which caused him to go blind. Eddie, too, admits having forcibly slept with a woman while intoxicated, but when it comes time for Father Francis to speak, Kelly tries to stop him. He hesitantly admits that he is aware that Wade Greeley did not rob Mrs. Chan's store. Kelly attempts to debunk this by claiming that she had evidence incriminating him. Eddie concludes from earlier, when Christian was still alive, that he must have robbed the liquor shop and confessed to Father Francis. Father Francis confirms this, and everything begins to fall into place. When Christian was released from prison, he was under pressure to repay money to Sully, so he must have robbed the store. They think it must be Wade seeking vengeance for his unjust imprisonment. 10 minutes end and the masked man is back. He tries to kill Eddie this time, but Father Francis saves him and gets shot instead. When he is dragging the priest's body away, Kelly attempts to beg him by calling him Wade. The man becomes enraged and informs her that he is not Wade. Since this is all related to Wade's imprisonment, Eddie and Jackson try to question Kelly about it, but she bites back, stating she doesn't remember because it occurred a long time ago. Soon after, Sully comes to the conclusion that because Leon stated that he sold the weapons around the time Christian was released from jail, it must be that Christian robbed the shop with the gun he purchased from Leon. As a result, Eddie expands his timeline and realizes that Sully gave Christian the motive and Leon provided him with an opportunity for the robbery. Mrs. Chan misidentified the man, Kelly locked him up, and Father Francis didn't tell the police, which is why everyone but Coogan, Eddie, and Jackson is here. The timer comes to an end, and the man arrives and kills Mrs. Chan. Kelly becomes terrified and tries to arouse sympathy in the kidnapper by mentioning her child, but the man becomes furious and shouts at her for using her child as an excuse. Once he's gone, Kelly admits that the child is Jackson's. She also admits that she fabricated the proof towards Wade Greeley after Mrs. Chan mistakenly chose him, and she used Jackson to support the evidence. Eddie considers how outraged the kidnapper was when Kelly attempted to use her son for pity, and how Coogan, who spent 5 years in prison, probably met Wade in prison. However, before Eddie can finish his investigation, the countdown stops, and the man comes back. Then he goes to Sully and kills him, since he has vowed not to alter the way he does business. Soon after, while the other two are too exhausted to engage, Kelly confesses to murdering a guy because he forcibly slept with her, and she erased all leads to the culprit and hid all the evidence of the murder. After some thought, Eddie comes up with the final piece of the puzzle. Because Coogan sexually molested minors, he could have encountered Wade Greeley in prison. What if he had AIDS and passed it on to Wade, and that's probably why he did not want his blood splattering on anyone. Eddie is aware of this possibility because his corporation had access to a drug therapy that could extend the lives of AIDS patients close to the time Wade Greeley was released from prison, and Eddie is here because he denied Wade Greeley the AIDS treatment because of his criminal past. Eddie also realizes it must be Wade's father seeking vengeance, and the 2 years he spent organizing the attack was exactly how long his son lived. When the 10 minutes are over, and the man arrives, they tell him what they discovered, and he removes his mask. Then he purposefully hands Kelly the key and instructs her to release herself and the 2 others, informing them that he has alerted the police and they are on their way. However, Kelly only frees herself and tackles the man. She steals his gun and informs them that she can't let them go now that they know her secrets. She kills them all and runs away in panic while the cops arrive at the scene. Thanks for watching. To support the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button and press the bell icon to get new video updates.